What's going on, everybody? It's Rick from Gardening with Barchuckin. Today we're going to do some pruning of fruit-bearing trees. We have pear, peach, and apple to do. So these trees have been in the ground for over a year now. So now it's a good time to start developing their shape and what we're going to do to shape them so then they'll be ready to bear fruit this coming spring. Fruit-bearing trees come with different root stocks, so they're grafted. So this is the graft from another tree. I have no idea what it is, but that's what the roots are, and this is where it was grafted onto that tree. Everything above that point is your pear tree. Everything below is that original root stock. With pear trees and apple trees, they look for vertical growth, not horizontal growth. So you don't want them just reaching straight out, you want them going up. The problem with that is they'll continue to go up. Your trees, if you do not prune them, can get well over 20 feet tall. We want to avoid having to get a ladder out and specialized tools to pick and harvest our fruit. So what we're going to do is reach up and take our pruners and just cut back the top growth . So same as the other pear tree, it's all about the vertical growth, but we need to go ahead and limit how tall this is going to get, so then we're not injuring ourselves when we go to harvest the fruit. So same thing, I'm going to reach up, cut the tops, and then I'm going to show you where we're going to prune out some of these crossing and intersecting branches. Here's what we're talking about. Right in here, these branches are actually touching and rubbing, and what that's going to do is it's going to create friction. It's going to go ahead and actually damage the bark. So we want to get rid of this guy. The other thing is, when you do a pruning cut, you do not want to cut all the way back at the tree. You want to cut out just a little bit. You can see where the trunk and the branch actually come together, and that's where your cut needs to be made. With that cut, now the trunk is actually going to cover over top of that and heal its own wound. Here's another instance where this branch is rubbing on this branch, and then this branch is actually growing towards this main stem. So we're going to get rid of this branch here. And that may look like a weird cut, but I can see where the trunk part of this branch is, and that's going to cover over nicely. Another issue here is this branch is growing real close to the main stem, and we don't want that. So we're going to actually put a piece of wood in here to separate this. As in our other pear tree, this is where this one was grafted onto its rootstock. Okay, we're checking out the apple tree now. There's really not a whole lot that we're going to have to prune on this because it's still well below our reach height. So we're going to continue to allow this to grow. I will do a few pruning cuts on some of these smaller branches, but the overall height is still good. Mm-hmm. So this is the branch that we're going to prune. This is the branch, and right here is where that node was, where the growth is. So we don't want to damage that. We want to cut right above that when we make our cut. Cutting where this node was, we only cut the twig part. We didn't cut into the branch, and this branch will actually continue to grow and cover that cut. Good. Mm-hmm. Yep, that's it on this tree. So here's another apple tree. It's still within our reach area, so we're actually not going to prune anything on the top just yet. So I wanted to bring you in on this to show you this. There was some type of rubbing that occurred here. So this is a problem that could cause for disease to enter the plant. I'll keep an eye on this to make sure that nothing does occur. But if something does occur and this begins to rot or show more damage, what we can do is make a cut here and allow this to become the new main leader for the apple tree. Here's a peach tree. We already did the pruning cuts on this. I made a short, you can check that out. I'm going to take you over to the other peach tree and show you what we did. Now we're at our peach tree. Peach trees require horizontal growth, so we want them growing sideways as opposed to straight up. So because of this, what we're going to do is a topping cut and then trim these back to the first node, so then it'll have a starting point for the season. So what I'm doing now is I'm trimming this peach tree back to its first node, so it will have a starting point for growth in the springtime. All these trees are dormant because there's no leaves on them, so they've already made all their energy and it's stored in the root system. So once the time comes in the spring for it to start growing, that energy will be released and then begin the new growth. Another thing to remember with this pruning, the reason why we're pruning it back to that first node is to give it a good starting point and let that energy know where it needs to come out. There will be no fruit this first year. All growth of your fruit comes on second year growth. So this first year, it will just grow the branches. The second year is when the fruit can be produced. The main reason why I top this peach tree is so it forces that horizontal growth. These nodes, and the reason why we cut back to that first node, is so then it gives the energy a point to come to in the springtime for that growth. Now, as time goes on, we're going to keep an eye on the peach trees to make sure that we have 3 to 4 main branches. Everything else will be trimmed out. New growth will not produce fruit. Your second year growth is what produces your fruit. So if you continually trim this back, you'll never get any fruit. So you do have to allow it to grow out to then be able to bear fruit. With peach trees, what you need to do is strategically thin your plants, whether the blossoms at around 45 days. When the tree begins to produce fruit, you may have to pull some of those also to then go ahead and have that energy focus on just a few, 75, 100 fruit. That's how you're going to get larger fruit. Giving you a recap of today. Today we were pruning for vertical growth and also horizontal growth. Depending on which tree we were pruning, we had peach, pear, and apple trees. We did vertical pruning for our pear and our apple tree, and then we did a horizontal prune for our peach tree. It's important to know what type of fruit you're growing and how it needs to be pruned so you can help to increase your harvest. We talked about thinning your blossoms or your fruit off the tree to help increase the size of the fruit. I'm glad everybody was able to come along, check this out. If you didn't get a chance to see the first video we did on this, I'll put it in the description and also at the end of the video right here. So I hope you enjoyed the recap. Thanks for coming along and watching, and everybody have a great day.
Peach trees.
Okay.
Come here.